Hello, YouTube. Welcome back to another MOPETE interviews. This time on interviews, we have two guests. Returner, Seth. He voices many voices on the channel, or is going to voice many voices on the channel. He's already appeared in an interview before. But we also have a new guest, Sway, a fellow YouTuber.
Hello.
Welcome to the show, guys. Today's topic will be discussing general etiquette when it comes to collaborating, whether it be with another YouTuber or using multiple outsources such as voice actors. Sway, I understand you have a series that is basically a voiced manga, if I'm using that term right, for an original Yu-Gi-Oh story.
Correct.
You utilized Seth's services for this production. I kind of want to hear you guys talk about how the process went there, just to give our fans an idea of the mechanics behind collaborations and using outsources.
Sure. So I've been in contact with Seth, maybe is it a little over a month, maybe a month? I don't know. But previously I had been working on this series for close to a year. And I was kind of doing it just freelance everything. And trying to get artists and definitely working with a budget because I am in college. So, that spare money on the side is
it's valuable.
Yeah, it's very valuable. So just been kind of doing it at my own pace, and it was just hard to get. I actually had a short film writer write script for me for the first 2 episodes, and he was going to do the animation, then bailed, and I had hired another animator. And she worked with a budget, but then just took months to get me stuff. And it was just terrible, experience, I guess. It took forever to finally settle down. And then Seth's studio actually, he worked with me really well to get a nice price for everything and to provide everything I needed to just kind of get the stress off my hands, and he could handle it all. All I have to do is kind of just not necessarily direct it, but just be the leader,
Right. And projects like that, getting messy really quickly, it's pretty common on the internet. What are some lessons you learned from that experience?
Communication and commitment. It's hard over the internet it's kind of hard just because at the beginning they could say, oh yeah, I'll communicate great. And then, or I'll commit to this, but then you just don't hear from them. And it's really hard I feel like it's really good to ask a lot of questions about someone's work before you hire them or before you work with them or collaborate. So it's really good to get to know somebody, what they enjoy, what they don't enjoy, and if you really believe that they could actually help you with a specific project or not. So that's what I've learned so far.
Yep. Knowing how to pick your apples when it comes to your projects is definitely important. Another thing I've learned personally is it's always good to have a deadline in place. It doesn't have to be a hard deadline like, oh, get this to me or you're fired. It just has to be kind of a goal, kind of like, okay, let's aim to have this done by this date, or let's shoot to have this amount of work completed before this time frame. Just as something that we all have a clear idea toward that we're working towards, and that it helps with the miscommunication just a little bit. And it also gives that sense of urgency, like, oh, I could relax today and play, Persona 5 in my bedroom, but I should probably work on that thing I need to get to for MOPETE or Sway.
Yeah.
Seth, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I was actually going to mention that I think what a lot of, shall we say clients, I use that term pretty loosely, but the people that I collaborate with, a lot of the time what they're lacking in their projects is proper management. And I think that's kind of the 800-pound gorilla in the room oftentimes. A lot of content creators mean well. They're passionate about their projects like Sway. But I've run into people with very similar stories as Sway quite a few times in my history, where they're saying, these projects have gone into the non-complete zone. I'm not sure if I'm ever going to finish this project. it was a dream. It got put on the back burner. A lot of people came through the door, made a lot of promises, and they ended up not following through. And then you have somebody with like a half-finished project. And this is my opinion, but as somebody who does this for a living, I would rather have a B plus finished project than a potentially A plus project that is not ever done. You know what I mean? Is like there comes to a point where I tell people, even though there are budget constraints, maybe there's a way we can cut corners of the budget and just push and just get the darn thing done already. Yeah. Because the worst part about, like I said before, I'd rather have a so-so finished project than some kind of like perfect outlook that is never completed. So I run into this situation a lot. And again, what it comes down to is lack of proper management. And it's not about the client. It's the client trying to hire somebody who claims that they can take control of the project, that they can subcontract where needed, that they can delegate roles, that they can manage a team. And I just don't come across that very often. So, when I first worked with Sway, I pretty much identified what was the issue from the beginning. And I told Sway, you know what, let me be that guy who steps in and takes responsibility and actually takes ownership for the outcome of the project. I mean, that doesn't mean, I would hope that doesn't mean everything is my fault, right? Because there are some things out of my control. But everything that is in my control with regards to Sway's project, I am taking responsibility for that. If something goes wrong, he should be talking to me. I'm his main point of contact. I would like a situation with many of my collaborators, including Sway, where I can be that singular point of contact so they don't have to be managing like a team of 12 people dispersed all over the world, if that makes any sense.
Right.
Absolutely. And there was a point where I was working with like 4 different freelancers that had no idea that I was trying to communicate with different people and timelines were different. And I even had a set due date for a project and it just never got completed. And it's so demotivating when you spend months trying to just work as hard as you can to get something done and it just never follows through. And for a long time, there was like a month break where I just quit. I didn't even try anymore. And then I finally reached out again and that's when Seth's studio popped up. So it's really taken a lot of weight off my shoulders, just trying to manage everything.
Glad to hear. That's how it should be.
And I will piggyback on that. Yes, losing a project is the worst feeling in the world. And on the other side of that, completing a project is like ecstasy. It's awesome. Even if it's not, 100% of what you originally envisioned, just finishing it and just being able to just push it out for the world to see and you can move on to something else. It's just a great feeling. It may be an ugly baby, but it's your baby. But circling back to communicating with a bunch of freelancers at once, one thing I like to do personally is a strategy, and I'm not trying to coach you here, Sway. I'm just pushing this out for the viewers mainly. I like to have them all on a dedicated email chain or have them all on the same Discord server. That way, when I'm talking to one of them, I'm pretty much talking to all of them. That way, they're all, even if it doesn't really have much to do with them, they're still on the same page and they still all know what's going on. Like, oh, okay, he just pushed the audio to the audio engineer. All right, I should probably get ready to do these stills, or I should probably get these cuts ready. Just so everyone has a nice little flow and part of what happened. But that can be tough sometimes, to be honest. Not everyone has a Discord sometimes. Not everyone has a Gmail sometimes. So the logistics side of it can be a lot of work, especially for a college student like yourself. So it depends, but like I said, if you're passionate about it, you can find a way to make it happen.
I'm definitely I'm finally I'm just happy that things are getting worked on. And I feel like it's actually getting done with Seth. So he informs me, the communication's been outstanding, just superb to what experiences I'm used to. I would go weeks without hearing from a content creator and I would send multiple messages and there's always an excuse of why the communication lacked. Oh, I moved houses. And I'm like, okay, I get that. That's okay. And then there's just other stuff that just didn't make sense. And I was just I'm going to have to cut ties. And I felt bad doing that, but I also felt bad because it had been months without progress.
Yes. So sometimes ties just have to be cut. Yeah.
Yeah. And I just finally I just feel like things are getting done. Things are getting worked on. constant communication, and Seth's been very patient with like requests and with the budget. So very happy so far.
I want to get your opinion, Seth. Have you ever had to cut ties on a project from a freelancer perspective? Like, have you ever signed on to a project and it just isn't moving forward, and you had to move on? Have you ever been in that situation, Seth?
To be frank, within the sphere of voice acting and music production, I've not had an issue like that yet. But in other industries and sectors, of course, yeah, I've had, financial management that where it just wasn't working out with the client. I had to have just an honest conversation with the client and let them know that, there's expectations of both sides, and I don't think they're ever going to be met. Instead of just dumping you, let's find a way where I can help you transition to another freelancer who can help you get this done. I have had that conversation in other sectors, but in this one, not yet. Hopefully never, but I know it does happen. I mean, I think to avoid that though, MOPETE, is to avoid having situations like that even come up. It has to do with proper preparation. I never take any jobs. I never accept any projects from clients until I have a very thorough consultation with them. I don't just say, oh, I can do the job. You can trust me. You can count on me. Let's go. I never approach it like that because I think that can just end up in tears. I make sure that to set the expectation very clearly with the client first. I spend a lot of time digging up information about the client's project, with the client before I decide to tackle the project. I just don't want to be in that position.
Hmm. Hmm.
I think that's a good point right there.
Yeah, it's a very good point. It sounds like even if you are in that position, you know how to handle it as a professional. You never want to burn a bridge, even if a client or a freelancer has wronged you. You want things to end amicably. So you want to let them down gently, or you want to help them transition, like you said. You don't want to just straight up be, you know what, I'm done with you. You're fired. I never want to work with you again. Burning bridges is almost never a good idea in this industry. You can never have too many friends. But like you said, if you need to cut ties and it comes down to that, you got to sit down and have that honest conversation with them.
Absolutely.
So Sway has a prior engagement here, guys. So we're going to let him go here soon. But first, I wanted to give him a chance to talk about his YouTube series that he has going on, just so we can plug it a little bit. And if you find yourself looking for a video to watch after this interview, you can just head over to his channel. Sway, go ahead and date yourself for a little bit here.
Yeah, sure. So I grew up like a fan of Yu-Gi-Oh! I was never into Pokemon as much as Yu-Gi-Oh! And I actually have a lot of influence from one of my friends who creates Pokemon mangas on YouTube, and they're English dubs, of course, but I just really love that idea. And like I asked him, I'm like, have you ever seen a Yu-Gi-Oh! One of these? And he's like, no, I haven't. So, and I know he's very busy, so I was like, I'm just gonna have to find a way to do this myself. And if he doesn't mind, I kind of just like took the influence from him. Definitely not trying to like take credit away from him, but I've just seen the success he has doing what he does. So, and I have a passion for Yu-Gi-Oh! I stream Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links, play the TCG, go to local tournaments, and it just seemed to fit right. So I started this series, and I didn't want to just like take it from the original show. The timeline is from the original show, like the first just Yugi, Kaiba, Joey, all the main characters. It's from that timeline, but it's doesn't really involve any of those characters yet. So I wanted to do something custom with like my character Sway, like that logo that I have. My friend drew that for me, and I was like, you know what, that's a cool like alias. So Sway is like this high schooler at the Duel Academy, and it's supposed to be like a very dry humor show or series where Sway is just like obsessed with this girl named Celia, and he's wanting to take her to this prom. But to do that, she makes a deal with him, like, hey, if you win this tournament, you could take me to the prom.
A tale as old as time.
Yeah. And I know that a lot of like mangas and anime fans love like that romance in it. So we added that, and I just really think that's it's helping adding a humor and storyline into it. And Sway is experiencing like all these troubles along the way, and he's trying to learn how to play the game while progressing through this tournament. So, but he's going to find out along the way that he loves the game very much. So, without spoiling anything, because I'm still thinking of stuff myself just to add to the story.
Wow, sounds like your classic shonen storyline. I'm definitely interested.
And the cool thing was that last episode that I posted, which was episode 2. There's only 2 out right now. I had other Twitch collaborators that I know through streaming, they contacted me and said, dude, can we please get you on our podcast? And that really opened a door for me. They're a lot more successful when it comes to streaming than I am, because they're just, they're on a regular schedule and they have more viewers and stuff, just etc. So I did this podcast interview with them, kind of like this one, but it was on streamed on Twitch. They were so excited about this episode, and they said, any way we can get involved in this, we'll do it. Just please let us get involved. And I said, sure, you guys can voice act for 2 characters that I'll write into the show. So we did that, and that's going to be in progress for episode 3. And so I think that's going to open a big door for me.
Yeah, that's what it's all about right there. Just opening doors and just doing honest work like that. And, you land a sucker punch like that. And who knows, with this next episode, more Twitch creators, more YouTube creators going to see it and be like, they're in that. Maybe I should toss my hat into that ring. That's what it's all about, man. I'm happy for you. I'm excited for you.
I appreciate it. It's been really exciting. I didn't even expect, I didn't expect this. I think Seth just contacted me and said, he wanted me to get interviewed. And I was like, heck yeah. So that's 2 in 2 weeks. And I never expected that. So I'm really excited to see where the potential can lead to this project and how long the series can go and how successful it can get.
Well, you got my support, Sway. Thank you for coming on to the show. I will see you when I see you, man. I'll see you when I see you. If you're watching this video, stick around for part 2. We're going to just be me and Seth, and hopefully a third, a voice actress named Kate. It'll be about feeding off of each other and voice acting together. So stay tuned, guys. Hey everyone, welcome back to part 2 of this interview. We still have 2 guests. One is Seth. You already know him. You're already intimately familiar with them. But the other is another voice actress. It is Kate. Welcome, Kate. She works with Seth at Chasma Productions, and they make Chasma Records. They make all types of projects. So I wanted to have them talk about collaborating off of each other and working together on a project if you're a voiceover artist. Kate, welcome. Working off of each other, how does that generally work?
Yeah, in the last project we had, I actually was not voicing with her. I was directing her. And that was actually Sway's Dawn of the Duelist Part 2. So Kate provided all of the female voices in that episode. Now, Sway already hired the male voices, so I didn't do any of the acting in that episode. So I pretty much brought Kate on board to provide the female voices. I brought her into the studio, we recorded her, and I directed her. So that's kind of how the last project we worked on together.
And can you speak a little bit about the dynamic between director and voice actor?
Kate, are you there?
It was, with Seth, it was nice because I could hear what was already recorded, but he would sometimes kind of, in coaching me a bit, put a different spin on play off of the way that was to really bring more into what I had in my head for what the character should be.
Gotcha, I got you. Did you have the script in your hand, or was he feeding it to you line by line?
I had it in my hand, but he would go over the previous lines with me right beforehand as well.
Makes sense. It makes sense. Seth, what is your general strategy for coaching and directing voice actors in your studio?
I have to say that with somebody like Kate, she has an extensive background in theater and acting and public performance. So in Kate's case, because she was so seasoned, there wasn't a lot of hand-holding that I needed to do. Because she's a professional actress, I just basically wanted to give her the outline of the character, tell her about the background of the characters, and also tell them where the characters are coming from, in which scenarios are they being placed in. For example, you know, there's the character of Celia, who is this high school love interest of Sway, the character Sway. In the Dawn of the Duelist episode 2, Sway is going to be dueling one of his, well, basically dueling the antagonist of the episode while trying to win over the affections of Celia, who is, you know, somewhat disinterested in Sway. I had to just basically explain all of that to Kate, and I think very quickly she understood the character's motivations. In general, to answer your question, though, in general, that is my approach, except I do it a little bit more, shall we say, extensively with less experienced voice actors. Sometimes I will sit down with the script in my hand next to the actor or actress, and I will actually do some role playing with them. I will be, you know, sitting right in front of them. I will read the other characters live and see what their reactions are, and then kind of coach them and mold them from there. With Kate, though, I mean, I did not have to do any of that because of her experience and natural born talents.
Yeah, Kate's awesome. I'm definitely a fan of Kate. But anyways,
Thanks.
so have you ever, say you're in a situation, right, Seth, where you're directing and the voice actor just doesn't seem to get it? What do you do then?
We actually had a situation like that recently with a female voice actress. And again, there was nothing wrong with her. It was just that she was a very bad fit for the role. For somebody like that who just doesn't get it, you know, I tell them, look, I just basically tell them, like, what is it that's not clear, first of all, that is not being understood. I try to counsel them a bit. I try to have a conversation with them first, you know, before letting them know that it's not going to work out. You know, for people that are more challenging, but we know that are not going to be released, you know, in other words, like we have to keep them for one reason or another. Again, I just go back to counseling and conversation and tell them, you know, can I help you understand the motivations of this character? If there's going to be some voice changing going on, then I kind of go back into my singing background, you know, and I tell them, okay, you know, let's do some exercises to get this voice more into your chest, or get this voice more into your mixed voice, or show me your vocal fry. You know, you gotta recite this line with some vocal fry, because this guy might be a 62-year-old farmer from Iowa with a history of chain smoking, or, you know, or like a West Virginian coal miner out of Fallout 76. So
Right.
I try to do a lot of one-on-one counseling and coaching, but, you know, there have been cases, you know, just a few times where it's absolutely not a good fit. And in that case, you know, I don't like fire them per se. I don't, you know, tell them they're horrible. You know, I tell them, you know what, we've gotten a lot of projects. This one doesn't fit you, but I have another one where I'm going to reassign you to, because I can use your talents better somewhere else. That's how I usually approach voice actors who really don't get it or don't understand it, even after a lot of coaching.
Right. It's like what we talked about a little bit in part one. You never want to burn a bridge. You know, be professional, be polite.
Exactly. And beyond that, you know, oftentimes it has nothing to do with them not performing. It's just that they have the wrong voice for the role. You know, that's what it comes down to. Because all of the voice actors that I work with, they're all very motivated. None of them are lazy, very hardworking. I don't have these problems of personnel. The only issue is wrong voice, wrong project. And in that case, I don't fire them or remove them. I mean, I reassign them. That's how I approach it.
And I'm sure that happens more often than one might think.
Like, I'll give you a recent example. We had a client that wanted me to do like a movie trailer. And I have done movie trailers before, but usually most of the projects that I've done using my voice, of course, my voice lends itself more to like cartoons and anime, you know, like anime announcers and YouTube channels and, you know, things like that. Doing like a movie trailer, you know, for a romantic drama that takes place in World War I. I pretty much resigned the fact that I don't have the voice that is exactly suited for that. And I recognized that before I even handle the project. I can take a good shot at it, but I think what it comes down to is knowing one's own limitations. And, you know, there's nothing wrong with trying to breach your limitations or go beyond it and doing self-improvement. But if I have a client that needs something today and I'm not going to have my voice ready for this project until 6 months afterwards, and that's where I kind of have to step back and say, you know what, I personally may not be the best fit for this, but I know someone who does.
Yep. Very professional, very good way of doing it, in my opinion, Seth. I feel like we've covered a lot of ground in this interview. Is there anything that we may have missed here?
Yeah, I mean, I think, with our previous discussions, Kate does, what I like about Kate is that she does have a very expansive background in acting. And what excites me about working with people like Kate is having their past experiences from the theater and film transfer over into the studio for voice acting. And I think I saw a lot of that when I used Kate in Dawn of the Duelist episode 2. I could kind of feel that she knew. I mean, she's done this obviously before, though she may not have done hundreds of auditions or lines for voiceovers, but I could definitely tell, she's been in front of a lot of people. She's been queen of the stage.
Right.
So I don't know. I mean, would it interest you to have Kate speak briefly about how her acting background transfers to voice acting?
Yeah, I would like to know a little bit about that transition. If you could expand upon that just a little bit for us, Kate.
Acting to voice acting, I think kind of, when I was younger, I really always wanted to be in front of people. And, I've been involved in theater since I was a little kid, did the morning announcements at school. All I wanted to be was, on TV, on stage. And then as I started pursuing my theater degree, I found that I really loved directing, and I really loved designing, and I liked being behind the scenes a lot more. And I think as I've gotten older, the limelight, I'm still very comfortable in front of very large crowds, but I like kind of being more behind the scenes now. And I teach on a regular basis. I've been teaching for over 5 years, so I'm very comfortable with getting up in front of people and at least pretending I know what I'm doing, whether I actually know what I'm doing or not. And they never question whether I know what I'm doing. So I think really getting into directing started to, just kind of make me not so much want to be on the stage or in front of the camera anymore, but take all of the kind of creative ideas that I always had in my head and be able to put those more into kind of the way I express myself through, whether it's my voice or my actions and whatnot.
Wow. Such a class act. I love it. All right. I think we've rounded up enough today. Before we wrap up here, is there anything you'd like to say in closing, Kate or Seth?
Kate, take it away.
I mean, I guess, I'm very happy to be working with somebody like Seth. He is full of praise and any helpful criticism, which is very, very nice to have again and start doing something that I really, really enjoy again after taking quite a long break. And I'm just really happy to have these opportunities to go back to doing something I really enjoy. So thank you.
All right. Seth?
I think Kate pretty much summed it up very nicely. I respect her a lot. I really like the work she did for episode 2. And I look forward to working with her again in Sway's upcoming episode of Dawn of the Duelist, episode 3.
Ooh, I'm excited for that. You could also find both Kate and Seth on future MOPETE videos, so look forward to that. We're going to sign off here. Thank you both for coming on. If you like this video, go ahead and leave a like and engage down in the comments. And check out, if you want to use Kate and Seth over at Chasma Records, go ahead and check them out. They have a YouTube channel. They have a site, I'm pretty sure, right? Right, Seth? Am I plugging that right?
Yes, ChasmaRecords.com.
Yes, ChasmaRecords.com. Also, if you haven't already, go ahead and stop by that MOPETE Patreon. We got some good little benefits for you if you offer up a pledge and support the channel, support the cause. Anyways, I'm going to hop off the mic here and eat some lunch. Thank you guys for watching. MOPETE out.